So of course the very first thing we do is bring our awareness to our breathing. Always and always, first of all, we are bringing our attention to our breathing, or what is called making our home in our breathing. Making our home in our breathing. The Lord's Prayer in Aramaic begins with Abun Diboshmaya, which translated is Our Father who art in heaven. So there's a whole lot of incredible wisdom around the teachings of the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic, which I will share with you as we go along. And Abun, or Abun, represents the divine. So the sound and Om. So for Amen, Allah. This is how the Lord's Prayer, the Aramaic teachings are very based on the symbols of each word. Each word, like is symbol for the divine. Is the ground of being. So we've spoken about the ground of being, and that's the Aramaic word for the ground of being is ah. And that's when we're taking a deep breath, breathing in. As you're breathing in, and the out breath is ah. So the represents the ground of being, the fertile ground, the space of the divine. And the buun is the birthing of creation. So buun is the very silent ground of being, that out of the ground of being, out of the Amen, the Allah, the birthing of the very first movement, the seed or the tiny pinprick of light, it is buun. So buun means the birthing of creation from the ground of being. And it is also not followed by, but inclusive of the breath. So we're breathing in, and is the ground of being. So love's breath, what we're doing here is we're moving into the space of the willingness to breathe light itself into the body. Life force is breathing us. Life force is breathing us. So we're breathing the breath. The breath is the carriage of the soul. And the soul is light. So the breath is love's breath. We're making our home in our breathing. Love's breath is the willingness to breathe light itself into our being. And as we breathe in this light, this allows us perfect communion, perfect communication, perfect peace, joy and stillness. And when we rest in that true nature, our focus continues to be just gently on the breath. And again, we're just watching the breath being breathed. Remember last week's meditation, we were watching the heartbeat and the blood flowing rhythmically, pulsating through all the veins. And the body was being lived not by us. We were not doing anything. The heart was beating by itself, and the breath was breathing without our effort, effortlessly. And the world is just continuing on, all without our efforting. It's just occurring. So this life force that is living through us, it is the force of the divine, the creative principle. So we're remembering that our experience is always the effect from which we choose to focus our attention. So if something is going on in your day, remember that everything is a result of where you choose to focus your attention. Are you focusing your attention on goodness, on lightness of being, on your breath? Are you focusing on nature and the beautiful gifts that we receive in every moment? Just our breath alone is a gift. Or are you following the mind and paying attention on the things of the mind? So the breath is a very, very, very important role. So of course we're doing lots of breath work today, but truly the breath is the carriage of the soul. So when we're doing breath work, we're opening and deeply receiving the breath of love. We're being penetrated and softened, and we're breathing that light in. And so people are having these miraculous experiences and these cathartic experiences through doing breath work. That's because they're consciously saying yes to God. The teachings of the Aramaic teachings, the traditional teachings of Jeshua, which of course is a lot older than the modern breathwork practices today. It is an ancient reality, an ancient truth that is just reinventing itself in every generation with a deeper understanding and deeper wisdom. So we're going back to the very, very traditional and original core of what the breath truly is. So you're making your home in your breathing. Breath first. Mind last. Heart and feeling in between. So just contemplate that. Breath first. Mind last. Heart and feeling in between. In other words, the most important practice of awakening is number one is the breath. Number two is our attention on our heart and our feelings. And last of all is our thoughts and our thinking and our mind. So the pathway of awakening is not about thinking about something, but it is about the embodiment. And so we are watching in every moment with every opportunity, watching every day. How many times are we being taken away by our mind and the things of the world? Do we stop? Do we make our home in our breathing? Do we stop? Do we look inwards? And do we ask that question, how do I feel? What is the feeling? What is this really stirring up within me? We're not going to the thinking mind. We're not telling a story anymore. We're letting the story fall away. And we're turning our attention on breath first, mind last, heart and feeling in between. Because the real work, true work of awakening, it goes through feeling, not through thinking. And the world cannot fulfill you. When you realize that the world cannot fulfill you, then you'll be free. So as you continue to breathe, you're being invited to fall in love with meditation. Fall in love, deeply fall in love with this wisdom. Fall in love with your breathing. Fall in love with the aspect of yourself that can visualize and connect up to the divine, to the light, to the sunbeam, to the sun, that can take you through the journey of joy and fully dropping deep into your heart, experiencing gratitude and love and compassion. You put your attention there, fall in love with that. Because when you fall in love with that, then everything will change. Then you'll be free. Then you'll just enjoy what you're good at, because that's your soul's purpose. But there is only this. There is only this. While ever you think that there's something else for you to be doing while you're here, you will be in disillusionment. We are here to wake up to the true nature of our being, to remember, and then to be the extension, the expression, and the broadcast of that love to humanity. We are here only to remind everybody that here we are on this earth plane becoming, and we are conscious beings. And we are that consciousness through these experiences. We are becoming conscious of ourselves. We are now knowing that God is not something outside of ourselves. God is who I am. And now I feed that back. I broadcast all of that wisdom back into the universal intelligence. And then it feeds back into the earth. Another lifetime. More joy, more love, a grander expression of peace upon the earth. And of course, what comes with that is still many other souls waking up. So there's always going to be the challenges, just like you've been challenged. So maybe a third of the planet are waking up, and there's still 2/3 still waking up. 2/3 still having to go through their own chaos, their own crisis, their own trauma, their own pain, their own suffering. But you're in the third. You are all in of the people on this earth that are waking up, so that you can realize that you are always free, and nothing can limit your freedom other than your choice to believe something different. Until you decide with and for, from the mind of this loving awareness, life hasn't begun. Life is all that flows from the divine, from the unified field. You will know that is what is true spirituality. You will feel it and experience wholly. Presence, breath, self-inquiry, feeling is the power to awakening. Turns our attention back to ourselves, our true selves. Remember that waking up does not happen through thoughts, no concepts, no ideas, not knowledge. They are only symbols and pointers, but only through feeling, going inward like you're doing now. This is where the transmission occurs. This is where true awakening occurs. You just breathe and connect to that beautiful quiet center of your heart. And just rest. Remembering that you need do nothing. Everything's going on. Your hair's growing. Your skin's growing. You're breathing. Life goes on without you. So you really need to do nothing, but to witness and to fall in love with this observing intelligence. If there's anything to do, it is to just put your attention on that and fall deeply in love with your beautiful inner quiet place. We have chosen this experience right now. Right where you are, with everything that's going on in the world, and where you sit right now in this moment, you have chosen everything everything to be right here in this experience right now. We all knew what was going on in the planet prior to being birthed upon this plane, this dimension. We all knew it. It's not a shock, it's not a surprise. It just is. It's part of the process of consciousness, of the creative force, the divine, the impulse, the driving impulse of evolution. It's about God's will, not your will. So get out of the way, sit back, recline, and witness everything that is going on through the eyes of loving awareness. I and I alone have created this for the purpose of choosing love or fear. Choosing love means choosing to remember that who I am is an infinite, boundless, timeless, formless being of light. Radiant, shimmering light. And this is where I am meant to be by the degree of my soul, that soul that is here to wake up. And everything is perfect. Every choice that you make is overseen and safe, because everything that you choose, every choice that you make is in divine perfection. And when you choose from that knowing, there is only safety. When you choose to remember that love allows all things, embraces all things, trusts all things, transcends every part of the illusion, there's nothing to fear. There is only peace and freedom. So you have that opportunity to sit where you are and choose what pebbles you want to drop into your pool, to your pond. Do you want to drop pebbles that create ripples, gentle, soft ripples of love, peace? Or do you want to drop pebbles into that field, your energetic field, your quantum field? Do you want to drop big pebbles, rocks, boulders? Do you want to create waves or tidal waves that are going to come crashing back and knock you down? So when you choose to drop gentle little pebbles of peace from your still presence, and your field will remain clear and peaceful, and only gentle ripples of that love and peace will return to you. It's much easier to send ripples of love, bliss and joy and fun and laughter and freedom, rather than it is to send ripples, pain, anger and suffering and blame and criticism. You are the creator of your experience. What will you choose? You are unlimited, you are unchanging. In this light, this one truth, love is here. Love reigns supreme. It's not your body's limited. not your thoughts. Thoughts are limited. The love reigns supreme in the silence, in the silent awareness of the one that's observing. You rest in that silence. Breath first, mind last, heart and feeling in between. And you pay attention here. When you focus your attention here, you will experience separation, birth or death, gain or loss. At each and every moment, you cannot be a victim of anything that you see. There's nothing outside of you. What you are experiencing, you have deliberately and directly called to yourself. You were created out of the thought, perfect love in form. When you remember this, you will no longer need to defend perceptions. You will not have to argue. You'll look upon all created things, all perceptions, all judgments, all desires that you've held of anyone or anything. And as they rise in your field, they will not disturb your peace. Nothing is occurring by your will, by your choice. Everything is occurring in the perfect unfolding, the divine. You do nothing, and that one infinite source of love does all things through you. And you just simply rest, allowing all things, trusting all things, opening and embracing all things. And in your silent presence, transcend all things. And everything that you are resisting are the very stepping stones to your awakening. Everything has been directly sent to you of that source of love, because that one knows what's necessary to unravel within your consciousness, to allow you to awaken. That means anything that creates resistance or discomfort, that is the stepping stone. That's your ally. God has sent in allies for your awakening. Your job is to achieve the maturity in which you are finally willing to let things be just as they are. And there may be parts of you when you hear that, the mind wants to jump up and say, yeah, but I can't. I want to change things. Breath first, mind last, heart and feeling in between. Noticing what feelings arise and continue to bring breath. I'm feeling where I want to jump in my head and explain things away. But this is an invitation to stay there, stay. Your heart and feelings. And just notice that there is an urgency to jump up and into the mind and justify and defend. But we're just going to put that little movement to rest. It's just energy. And you continue to breathe, noticing any urgency, noticing any frustration, noticing any resistance. As you breathe the breath of love into that feeling, breathing deeply into your belly, as you breathe in, my breath is the carriage of the soul. I breathe light, love's breath. Make my home in the breathing. I breathe light and love into my belly. And I'm letting that love, that breath wash through. I'm just going to stay with that. And I can promise you that if you stay with breathing, the emotion, the feeling, the resistance, the trauma response, it will dissolve. Because everything transcends and dissolves in the presence of love. Things can be tried to be worked out in your head, but it cannot be fully transcended and dissolved. Only through feeling does true awakening occur. So we take a deep breath. I'm finally willing to let things be just as they are. I'm putting down my sword, the fight, the struggles, resistance. I'm surrendering, handing them over, putting them down. I'm just going to let things be just as it is. And I can promise you that your prayers have been heard. You need to do nothing. And life will unfold perfectly for you. God hears your prayers. But while you get in the way, you get in the way of the flow of God's will for you. So rather than you putting up an argument or a fight, just bring your presence back, your awareness back to the breath, and everything will be fine. Everything will work out perfectly. And catching that driving impulse that wants to jump up and control things. That's the little voice we've got to put to rest. So that's just trying to protect us. It thinks we're under threat. It's our natural animal instinct, which is true in the relative world. But in the world that you are stepping into, it no longer requires your effort. Because you are working now in a love at a different level. You're working with love on a higher dimension. And it is this dimension, this absolute reality, that you hand all of your things over to, and it will be taken care of. And it'll be taken care of in the way that the divine, the perfection of the evolutionary process, source creator, it wants it to be. And you trust that. Because you wouldn't be here if you didn't trust it already. You'd still be off doing what you were doing before you woke up. Only love heals. You're not here to fix family. You're not here to fix your friends. You're not here to fix anyone. But your presence, the presence of embodied love, that's what heals everything. Showing up as the embodiment of the awakened soul that knows it is the essence of infinite, timeless, boundless love is what heals all things. When you have a problem, or you have something that your mind is being challenged with, sit down with a 2-year-old child and ask them for their opinion. Ask them to teach you what to do, and they will look at you with beautiful open eyes, and they won't understand you, and all they will want to do is take your hand and ask you to go and play. And that will be the answer that you're looking for. The mind of an innocent child isn't controlled by the things of the world. That child is the presence of love. They won't even understand what you're talking about, because they're innocent, their purity will only be interested in playful experiences, bubbles, playing in mud, dancing, being crazy silly, cuddling up in your arms, kissing you, telling you how much they love you. Let the little child be a metaphor, your choices. Ask your own 2-year-old child, what would you do in this case? They'll just say, let's go play. Let it all go. It's not for me to worry about. I'm here to dance, to sing, and to love. See, the heart doesn't know avoidance, deception, or manipulation or control. Only the mind knows what they are. The heart doesn't know blame. It learns to see them, to recognize them. It's like you recognize clouds passing in the sky. So this is why we put our attention on our heart. Breath first, mind last, heart and feeling in between. All events are perfectly neutral, and you can see and act from the child, the eyes of innocence, freedom, or you can see them in a different way. But everything is neutral. Our perception is the effect of the outcome. You are the creator. You are the creator of all that you think and see and experience. You are always free. Nothing impinges upon you but the thoughts that you have chosen to hold within. Nothing imprisons you but your own perception of imprisonment. Nothing limits you at any level or any dimension of experience, save that which you have chosen. The pathway of love embraces all things, trusts all things, and transcends all things. You have literally created this experience. Something within you is so grand, so powerful, so vast, so beyond anything that scientists have ever come up with. You have literally crystallized it in the field of your experience. And you are this awareness of being a body in space and time. And you have come forth out of the field of the mind of consciousness as a gift from the divine. You ask only that you learn to create as that one creates, from the source of love. and you need do nothing. Remembering to make the home in the breathing, breath first, mind last, heart and feeling in between.